They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlin Clark got here, and y'all wasn't paying attention then. But now the young white girl comes along and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along. The resentment is understandable, but it's not about Caitlin Clark. It's about what she represents. My point is, grow up.
They ignored the charter flights. They ignored the sold-out barns. They ignored the way one player flipped the entire algorithm. And now the WNBA's biggest box office star is in street clothes. Caitlin Clark is shut down for the season. Confirmed, final, done. No day-to-day, no game-time decision. Done. The fallout, immediate. Fans are heated. Talk shows are volatile.
Let's find out what the rest of the WNBA is going to do in terms of popularity.
Yep.
You've been saying up and down that, you know, whether tacitly or directly, that, you know what, she's getting too much shine, even though we respect and what have you. We deserve our shine. Well, now's a perfect opportunity for you to prove that. If not, acknowledge her impact on the financial aspects that she brings to the table, adopt the mentality that a rising tide lifts all boats, and learn to have an elevated level of appreciation for what she has brought to the game and assist her in making the league even more profitable.
And Stephen A. Smith, he's levitating with receipts. Before we go any further, drop baby goat greater than baby giraffe in the comments if you still believe in Caitlin's bounce back arc. Because this video isn't doom. It's a wake-up call.
But you have to be cognizant that no matter how you step out of your house, you are now Angel Reese. And you will always be picked apart, unfortunately.
She knows this social media. She is not dumb. She's quite a brilliant young lady. She's very smart, very accomplished. And on top of it all, she is in this age where she does know social media exists. And she has exploited it to her advantage. And so when you take that into consideration, that means you're mindful of the imagery and the perception that you're assisting in creating about yourself.
Let's start with the obvious. Caitlin didn't just help the league. She was the league's viral engine. Non-fans tuned in because of her. Dads brought their kids because of her. Teams moved games to bigger arenas because you get it. That's not shade at anyone else. That's simply how star power works in sports. There's a reason networks lead with one name, so when she's on the shelf, the product shrinks. The conversation shrinks. The must-see TV factor? Yeah, that dips too. And this is exactly where Stephen A. kicked in the door. He didn't whisper, he thundered. Protect your star, protect your investment, protect your future.
Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA specific merchandise. It started with Caitlin Clark. And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do. Thanks to Clark, Indiana led the league in attendance both at home and on the road. The Fever averaged 17,035 fans at home and over 15,000 on the road. 4 teams moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. That's about Caitlin Clark. How do we know this? Attendance for the entire league was up nearly 50% last year. According to data from across the timeline, and Indiana led all teams with an average attendance of 17,035. That was up 319% from the year earlier.
He torched the officiating inconsistency. He called out the elbows, the mid-air bumps, the hockey checks masquerading as physical defense. He questioned how the league let the most valuable player in the building get treated like a crash test dummy. He didn't stop there. He pressed the league office. Where was the proactive leadership? Where was the public standard? Where was the spine? That part matters, because it's not just the bruise you see, it's the message it sends.
Unfortunately, though, the celebration in the WNBA, it was cut short yesterday afternoon as WNBA players learned the harsh lesson Be careful what you wish for. Headline at the New York Post. Caitlin Clark sidelined with Indiana Felines announcing shock injury. Keyword: shock. This injury was shocking, but not for reasons that you may think.
If the biggest draw isn't protected, what chance does anyone else have? Now, about the jealousy discourse. We've all heard the chatter. We were here first. We were hooping long before Caitlin real talk. Both things can be true. Yes, veterans carried the torch. Yes, legends laid the foundation. And yes, Caitlin supercharged everything. That's not a threat. That's the business model. A rising tide lifts all boats. Ride the wave, don't fight the current. Instead, some players got caught playing the perception game. Subtweets, side eyes, media moments. All of it feeds the narrative, not the growth. And that's why Stephen A. went off.
Became the first rookie with at least 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in a playoff game. That was Caitlin Clark. Became the 4th different rookie to play all 40 minutes in a playoff game. That was her. I'm looking at other things. 6 different league television partners. This is last year. This is last season, because this is Caitlin Clark that we're talking about. 6 different league television partners set viewership records that year, her rookie year, for its highest viewed WNBA game. Do you know every one of those games included the Indiana Fever?
Rising tide lifts all boats. And if this is the magnetic traction that draws viewers to the WNBA, and her absence over the next 2 weeks due to that quad strain is providing further evidence of that, then everybody needs to accept it, stand down, and ride that wave. I'm going to be really interested in seeing how the ratings are going to look without her over the next 2 weeks. Let's make sure we come back and ask me this exact same question after she's been gone for those 2 weeks.
Not to crown Caitlin above the game, but to say the quiet part out loud. When you finally get a superstar who moves culture and commerce, protect her like Fort Knox. Let's talk Fever for a second. Indiana's still hooping. They've built resilience. Aaliyah Boston is a rock. Kelsey Mitchell gets buckets. Lexi Hull brings that edge. But the gravity changes without Caitlin. Defenses don't bend the same way. Casuals don't tune in the same way. That's just how star math works. This isn't a one-woman league. It's a league that finally got a global magnet. And you don't get magnets like that every draft cycle, so what should have happened? Clear officiating points of emphasis, published and reinforced, firm standards on off-ball contact against lead guards, accountability when it crosses the line. Also, modern sports science across the board. Charters normalized, recovery prioritized, back-to-backs carefully managed. Every edge matters when the entire country is actually watching. Now, the Angel Reese layer.
Look, I think Stephen A. is 100% correct on this. At the end of the day, you already see people actually saying, hey, I'm not watching for 2 weeks. I'm not tuning in for 2 weeks. And it's really bad news for the Mystics and the Sky, because both of those teams moved those games to big arenas. So it's like, now that she's not playing, what is that attendance going to look like? The viewership, right? The viewership is going to plummet. I already know, because majority of the people that's watching the Indiana Fever wants to see Caitlin Clark. And sad to say it, a lot of them only want to see Caitlin.
Everybody was moving Caitlin Clark games to bigger facilities because everyone was selling tickets. There were ratings. It was a ratings bonanza. Now with Caitlin Clark not playing, what do? Well, when you change your situs, guess what? You can't change it back.
Yep. The tickets are literally half the price, and there are entire sections of the stadium that have not sold any tickets.
Look, critics will always talk, but let's stick to basketball truths. The more the conversation spirals into drama, the less it's about hoop. The more it's about hoop, the stronger everyone looks. Fans aren't dumb. They can tell who's leveling up and who's farming engagement. And make no mistake, the audience loves a rivalry. Caitlin versus Angel. Caitlin versus Aja. Caitlin versus anyone with a crown. But rivalries still need guardrails, so they stay competitive, not chaotic. Which brings us back to leadership. When a league is in a growth spurt, the job is to curate the moments. You frame the story, you protect the talent, and you make the product bingeable. Instead, it felt like the W just tossed the keys and said, we'll see what happens. That's not a strategy. That's hoping the card drives itself. Here's the business reality the suits must own. Caitlyn is conversion. She turns curiosity into ticket buys, scrolling into streams, highlights into households. When she's not on the floor, you can feel it in the data. Less social lift, less casual traffic, fewer family buys. And that's why Stephen A is right to be loud. Because if the numbers dip now, and they might, you can't spin it as random variance. The solution? Treat this as a case study, not a crisis PR sprint. Codify star protection policies for everyone, not just CC. Publish them, enforce them. Show fans you care about player safety and game integrity. Show players you'll meet them with 2025 infrastructure, not 2012 band-aids. Show partners you're leveling up, not lucking out. Also, this part is huge. Tell better stories across the board. Build mini-docs, wired sound, mic'd practices, short-form breakdowns. Push Aaliyah's footwork, Kelsey's off-ball craft, Lexi's defensive chaos. Give the casuals reasons to stay. Because when Caitlyn returns, and she will, you want a deeper ecosystem waiting for her. Not a league sitting on one pillar. Fans will ask, should Caitlyn have pushed it for the playoffs? Nope. Smart move to shut it down. End of season intensity is a bad place to test a half-healed body. Long game greater than short dopamine. This is how superstars think. Protect the next 5 years, not the next 5 minutes. And to the folks throwing around, she's overhyped. Look around. What other player has moms, dads, kids, college students, and NBA heads aligning their schedules to watch women's basketball in July? That's not hype. That's conversion at scale. That's culture shift. So where do we go from here? If you're the league, publish the officiating standard. Invest in recovery like your TV deals depend on it. They do. Market rivalries and mastery. Less drama bait, more basketball. If you're the Fever, keep stacking habits. Feed Boston early. Let Kelsey cook in space. Keep Lexi terrorizing matchups. Leave a runway for a CC return that explodes. If you're Caitlyn, heal fully. Build back with purpose. Core strength, contact finishes, screencraft, counters versus blitzes. Then come back with a vengeance and a minutes plan. If you're a fan, keep the pressure on leadership, respectfully. Support the product and the players. Reward teams that show they're serious about health, safety, and hoop. Here's the truth bomb nobody wants to say out loud. The WNBA didn't just get lucky with Caitlyn, they got a second chance with America. You only get a few of those. So yeah, Stephen A is loud. But he's loud because this matters. Because this isn't a one-week ratings blip, it's the hinge point for the next decade. Caitlyn Clark is a once-in-a-generation connector. She makes strangers talk, families plan, and non-fans care. That is priceless. Treat her like a pillar, not a lightning rod. Build the product around excellence, not excuse. And when she's back, the roof comes off again. Until then, we'll be watching the experiment. What does the W look like without its magnet? If numbers slide, that's not gotcha. That's data you learn from. Final word. The league didn't owe Caitlyn worship. It owed her a fair whistle, a safe lane, and a plan. Give the next 2 months to grown-up moves, not press releases. And when 2026 hits, let's make it the year women's basketball stops asking for a seat and owns the room. If you're riding with that future, type baby goat greater than baby giraffe in the chat. Smash like, hit subscribe, and drop your take. Will the numbers prove Stephen A right while CC is out? Or will another star step up and keep the graph green? We'll be here with the breakdowns, the film threads, and the facts. See you in the next one.